Which coaches are on the NFL hot seat in 2023? Which teams might be looking for new coaches in 2024? And who are those coaches that there's no chance their seats are ice cold this season with ultimate job security? Team by team on today's Peacock and Williamson.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look into the NFL on the field and in the front office. With elite breakdowns, next-level analysis, and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We appreciate all of the everydayers out there, and you can be an everydayer. Just subscribe up on the new Peacock and Williamson YouTube channel or find us anywhere you find your podcasts. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson, by the way, is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, let's just go down through every team, Matt, and look at the head coaches and you know, on a sliding scale from ice cold to molten hot lava, who could be on the hot seat and whose seat might heat up quickly in 2023. And let's just start with the AFC East. And I think there's some pretty good job security in this division, starting with Sean McDermott of the Buffalo Bills.
Right. He's safe. I mean, I think that's definitely the case. However, another year of winning the division and losing in the first round, not winning the division, tough division. I mean, can this guy win the big one conversation here pretty soon? There probably is some of those rumblings already. Pretty harsh if you ask me. I mean, I think he's a top 10 head coach and will get plucked up in a second, but it's not ice. It's not Antarctica.
Well, you know, it's funny because we'll talk about some coaches. And by the way, a lot of feedback on the Hall of Fame conversations we had last week. And, you know, some of the coaches that are on the Hall of Fame track, right, were coaches that have already been fired. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl, has gotten fired, and now is considered, you know, potentially a Hall of Fame coach still. And he's got his new young quarterback. So it could happen quickly. A bad season, a couple of bad seasons, something really a disappointed owner. There's very few very patient owners around the NFL. You've talked about how there's been 3 coaches in your lifetime of the Pittsburgh Steelers. You cannot say that about other organizations, right? So
there were 3 coaches with the Browns in the year I was there.
It's hard to paint a picture of even a disastrous season. It's probably because it's injury riddled and you don't have your star quarterback on the field, and then you get a pass anyway. So I can't see a situation where Sean McDermott would be on the hot seat this year. I
tend to agree. I mean, I think he's very strong on the safe side, you know.
Bill Belichick, Hall of Fame lock, and probably someone that just can't ever get fired at this point. Could they force him to early retirement would be the question if it's just mediocrity from here on out for him.
Yeah, and I often say the Belichick, Reid, Carrolls probably will never bottom out. I mean, I don't think they're going to have the first pick in the draft next year type of thing. But, I mean, it's been several off seasons of very questionable team building. And I think it's a little unfair, but it looms that what have you done since Tom left? You know, I mean, and at his age, could he get pushed out with another blah year? I mean, the offensive coordinator thing he did last year sure doesn't help his job security, you know, things like that.
One of the weirdest things he's done.
Right.
And another coach, talk about job security, somebody else gets fired after that. That was
He has
the ability to do something like that and get away with it. If Bill O'Brien doesn't save things on offense, does that hurt him here? Could Robert Kraft come in and say, okay, we're getting you a GM and stripping you of this ability and this ability? Yeah, that's not going to fly, right, with Bill Belichick.
Right, I don't think Bill's saying that's cool. Yeah. You know, he's not going to take a lesser role.
I would say his seat is probably warmer than you would think in a Robert Kraft getting impatient and maybe it's time to retire for a year, and then who knows, he shows up somewhere else. But he can't get fired. So
he's not gonna get fired,
right?
I mean, it would be, he's stepping down, and we're putting him in the Ring of Honor, and it's Bill Belichick Day, and flags flying everywhere, rings galore. Last note on that one, though, I think I should know this off the top of my head, but is it Gerard Mayo that's on the staff? Like if he becomes this really hot candidate and they don't want to lose him, maybe you say, call him assistant head coach or in waiting type of thing, or you know what I mean?
It's kind of still Bill Belichick, right? But I think his son Steve Belichick has a hand in it, and Gerard Mayo. It's just an odd situation. Both offense and defensive coordinators. It was murky for them. Now it's Bill O'Brien's clearly the offensive coordinator. It's still Bill's defense, but I think Steve Belichick and Gerard Mayo both have a big hand in it. And to be honest with you, I can't even tell you off the top of my head who's actually the defensive coordinator.
They might not have one,
or if it's like a co-defensive coordinator thing, and who's actually calling the plays. Is it something where someone's calling the plays and it's going through Bill's headset and he decides if he wants to roll with that play or not? Let us know, actually, Patriots fans out there, what that dynamic is with the defensive coordinator of the New England Patriots right now, and who's officially got that title.
I just mentioned Mayo because I've often heard him as a hot coaching candidate, and if they don't want him to leave the organization, maybe they say you're the successor. It's a little bit fictional. I'm trying to make some stuff up here that could push Bill out.
Interesting. Okay, I'm seeing another Belichick, Brian Belichick, Patriots safeties coach. He's becoming the team's defensive coordinator / linebackers coach. Mike Pellegrino there.
Okay.
There's a lot of hold on. Let's go to the New England Patriots. Now I can't get past this. I want to just go to what the official site says here about this. And I mean, obviously, we all know Bill Belichick's defense. So
right. But to your earlier point about the offensive coordinator, would every coach in the league get away with this with several Williamsons on staff? And you know what I mean?
Pretty strong there. Yeah. So Brian Belichick is safeties coach. Steve Belichick is linebackers coach. Gerard Mayo is linebackers coach. Joe Judge, assistant head coach. He's back with the Patriots.
Yeah, right.
Cornerbacks coach Mike Pellegrino. There's no defensive coordinator.
Okay. I mean, I know Bill obviously has a lot of say there. Of course. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. So, weird organization, obviously.
Shrouded in secrecy there. But yeah, it's Bill Belichick's defense.
Of course.
How about Mike McDaniels, the second year now head coach of the Miami Dolphins? Did a nice job in year one.
I think he's super safe. But any team, this will be a recurring theme when we go through all 32. Any team that pushes all their chips in the middle and doesn't hit, your seat gets hot quick. And I think Miami pushed all their chips in the middle for this year. I'm not saying they have to win the Super Bowl, but they can't miss the playoffs. Then all of a sudden your seat's really warm this time next year.
They brought in Vic Fangio to run the defense.
Right.
They should be good. Now the Tua thing, if he bumps his head again and you're a Mike White led team, but Super Bowl ready everywhere else. That's a
little sticky.
Yeah. But I mean, then you can't blame that on the head coach, right? So right. I feel like this whole division feels pretty cool. But next, Matt, I think you could draw. I think the one head coach you could really paint the picture of a firing happening because of the 2023 season is the New York Jets. Let's get to them next and then talk about the rest of the AFC divisions here. We'll get into the NFC divisions tomorrow. We're going team by team. How hot is each head coaching seat in the NFL heading into 2023? Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. All you do is you add your job to the purple #hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile, and that spreads the word that you're hiring. And then you utilize simple tools on LinkedIn like screening questions that make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. And look, all the hirees you're looking for are already on LinkedIn. So why not go there first, find the biggest pool, and then prioritize those perfect candidates for you, and maybe find some folks that didn't even know they were looking for a new job until they saw your job available. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So Robert Saleh is next up, Matt, to finish up the AFC East here. And they brought in a Hall of Fame quarterback to fix everything that ailed them last year. Tons of young talent everywhere. I think they've got a GM whose job's extremely safe in Joe Douglas, so much so that if things were to go wonky, I think it would be a lot easier for Joe Douglas to say, hey, ownership, I'm going to go find a new head coach for us because I've built this great roster and we're going to go win, run back one more time with Aaron Rodgers, and we'll get the right coach and then we'll go win.
No, I 100% agree. I definitely think it's the warmest seat in the division for all those reasons. We know Aaron Rodgers can be a little bristly. Let's say him and Salah don't see eye to eye by week 10 and, they're 5-5. And the organization has to pick between quarterback and head coach, and you mentioned GM. Yeah, I think Salah is the obvious chopping block guy there between those three.
I don't think it's necessarily warm either, though. I think they like him.
No, but there's pressure.
Yeah, there's
you better win this year. Yeah,
there's pressure to win. Like you can't have a bad season. So it's
7 or 8 wins isn't going to cut it.
Right now, it's not warm, but it could warm up the fastest.
Agreed.
I think that's the best way to put it. Yeah.
Yep.
Let's go to the AFC North here, Matt, the division you cover the closest, and start with the Baltimore Ravens and a head coach we talked about Friday as being a guy who's a very likely Hall of Famer if he just keeps coaching a little while longer, especially if he gets himself another ring. And he already stacks up well against current Hall of Fame head coaches in John Harbaugh. So you're not firing Hall of Fame head coaches, are you?
No, I think he's safe as could be, to be honest with you. I do think it's noteworthy that last year they switched defensive coordinators. This year they're switching offensive coordinators. So there's not tremendous stability there, but I think Harbaugh's super safe. Yeah.
Right. And the fact that they figured out the Lamar Jackson thing, I think was huge. If there was a locker room problem and they lost their star quarterback and then had bad quarterback play and started to be a bad football team and wins and losses really started to skew in the wrong direction, then I think that could have hurt John Harbaugh and be like, okay, this we got to scrap it and start over because whatever dynamic is happening here just isn't working, and we lost a star quarterback that didn't want to be here. That not being the case, I mean, it speaks to the leadership from John Harbaugh, I think, and it speaks to his leadership realizing that, okay, we're going to change some things up on offense and defense, but we're going to keep rolling with the program that's won us a whole lot of football games for a long time. So ice cold seat for me here in Baltimore.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I did read the Ravens chapter in Warren Sharp's book last night, and I threw this out on Twitter. Lamar Jackson's 45-15 as a starting quarterback in games that he started and finished, and almost all those games was on a rookie contract deal without wide receivers to throw to. Like, good thing that got done is all I'm saying.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that needed to get done, and Lamar needs to be healthy this December. And Ravens doing some damage in the playoffs, maybe. Cincinnati Bengals. How about Zach Taylor? He was a hot seat guy that is no longer a hot seat guy, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe I sell him short. I'm sure I do, but I sure feel like he's kind of Burrow's helping him more than the other way around. But they're safe as could be. Yeah.
And that's why it's funny how cool his seat got as Burrow showed up and started playing better and better. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, guess what? Head coach is pretty good too, I guess. And look, I want to shout out a guy on the defensive side of the ball who's definitely not on the hot seat. And in fact, he might be his own head coach next year. That's Lou Anarumo, who's well thought of and had some head coaching interviews in the past. He might be one of the next, head coach hirees after some of these hot seat coaches that we talk about do lose their jobs after the 2023 season.
Tremendous schemer, tremendous adjuster. I read the whole AFC North chapter actually for Sharp, and a big thing he mentions in there is he came. I don't want to say he figured out Pat Mahomes, but of all the Mahomes games where he holds the ball, I think it was 3 seconds or longer, are the worst games of Mahomes' career, and they're like all against Cincinnati. Like they figured out a way to have him hold the football, and that's Anarumo. Yeah.
Cleveland Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. They brought in Jim Schwartz as the defensive coordinator there that a lot of folks pointed out to us in a recent podcast. And Alex Van Pelt, the offensive coordinator. But Kevin Stefanski, this is a pretty big season for him. And there's no more excuses with Deshaun Watson. Watson's got to play well, and the Cleveland Browns have to perform. And it's a tough division, I know, but this seat's a little bit warm, I think, for me.
I think it's the warmest one we've talked about yet. I mean, I think it's win now or you're in trouble. Like, I'm not sure a 6 or 7 win season he survives, maybe not even an 8 or 9 win season he survives. Watson is now a $65 million cap hit a year going forward. So you're in it to win it now. The window's closing.
Matt, is there any scenario that you could paint in your mind as we sit here in July that sees Mike Tomlin fired, or even maybe stepping down even as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach after the 2023 season?
Only if he chose to. I mean, honestly, I think they could go 0-17 and he'd be fine, to be honest with you. And the other note I just wanted to throw out there is Kevin Colbert recently retired as the GM. And I think that basically those two, power's the wrong word, but they were kind of Mr. Rooney's right and left-hand man. Now Tomlin's even higher up in the, he's clearly the most important football person. You know what I mean? So he has more power than ever.
And I'm blanking on who the new GM is
Omar Khan.
Oh, that's right. Khan. Yeah. And he was already there, right?
He was a cap guy that got bumped up to GM, who's not really a football dude, but he hired a lot of impressive scouts that, it's structured a little bit different, but Tomlin has more juice than ever.
No more stable organization in the NFL. Hot seats don't happen in Pittsburgh.
Not right now. Nope.
Moving on to the AFC South and the Houston Texans, we're going to get into the portion of new head coaches. You're not going to fire DeMeco Ryans after one season. So no matter how bad things go for the Houston Texans, I think things are safe. Now, I can't say the same thing about their GM. And if the Houston Texans end up with the number 1 overall pick, but they don't own it anymore because they traded it away, that could be disastrous for the GM. But I don't see DeMeco Ryans going anywhere.
Hadn't thought about it, but this is a pretty safe division all in all. I mean, and I guess we can spend less time on the first-year head coaches, but it would have to be a Denver situation last year in terms of just ineptitude. And even Houston didn't go get Russell Wilson. I mean, like everyone knows it's going to take a time.
Yes, and on top of that, this is a team that's already had one and dones. You can't do that. Like you right. Everybody knows. So if you're the GM, you're clinging on to DeMeco Ryans. This is your last opportunity. You don't get a chance to hire another quarterback. You don't get a chance to hire another head coach. So the entire front office, the entire structure of this team has to support DeMeco Ryans and hope he is the guy, and he'll get every opportunity to, I would imagine.
100%.
Next up is the Indianapolis Colts, another new
similar
head coach, another GM that's been around for a little while, and probably a very similar dynamic in that everybody needs Shane Steichen and everybody needs rookie quarterback Anthony Richardson to be the right guys for their job.
The only thing I'd say here to add to it is pretty volatile owner, though. I mean, wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. Who knows? But I doubt it.
Yeah, but it's not. Look, and I think that most times GMs are in the owner's ear more, so it's a lot easier to say, okay, GM, fire the head coach and go find a new head coach. But you're right about the volatility here of ownership and Irsay, and maybe he just doesn't like Steichen. He's like, yeah, I don't like this guy after hanging around with him for a season. So let's go find a new guy. But it
call
would feel
Jeff Saturday back, right?
Yeah, I mean, perfect example. Jeff Saturday. It's like, what the hell are you doing, Jeff Saturday?
What are you doing? Right.
So that your
not the most stable group, but I think they're safe. Yeah,
not stable, pretty safe, but maybe just maybe one shade warmer just because of who the owner is here.
Exactly.
All right, next we're going to finish it up. We got the Jaguars and Titans in the South and the AFC West head coaches. How hot are these seats? And I think there is one seat that is the hottest out west. Next. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs make you look good, they make you feel good as well. Bird Dogs stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you that truly sculpted look. I don't happen to be wearing my Bird Dogs right now. I actually just folded them up because I'm about to go do some golfing a little bit later. And I love my Bird Dogs pants for golfing, and I love my Bird Dog shorts for just about everything. They are so versatile. You hang out by the pool, hang out at a barbecue, hang out in the sunshine, wherever you are in your summer, and feel those vibes. But they look good enough to go just about anywhere you need to go. Go from work to the golf course in your Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but just fit way better. They stretch in all the ways you need to for your active lifestyle. They fit better than regular shorts that are made of stiff, restricted cotton, because Bird Dogs fixes all those issues by inventing their cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki but stretches, so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice that movement, and you get anti-stink sweat wicking fabric. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNFL or enter promo code LockedOnNFL for a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNFL, or just use promo code LockedOnNFL at checkout for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off, we promise you. Jacksonville Jaguars, another fairly safe job, Matt. And are we looking at a season where we're going to have fewer head coach firings, or after a month? Because, man, every time I think I know what's going on in the NFL, you don't have to wait a full season to have your mind blown. Just wait a month, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a second. Maybe things aren't quite as crazy over here. But, man, I feel like there's a lot of safe jobs, at least in the AFC right now.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing Jacksonville make a change, even if they take a step back, which I think could be in the cards, or they don't win that division, even though they're big favorites. It's always more difficult to operate as a favorite with expectations, but he's a high quality head coach. They've rocked the boat a lot. I think he's really safe.
Yeah, I absolutely do think they're safe. And I think they're so glad they got away from Urban Meyer and got some stability and got a head coach that looks like he's working really well in developing that young quarterback. And I expect them to be better, not worse this season. But if they do get worse, you never know. It can happen quickly.
Yeah.
How about Mike Vrabel? Mike Vrabel is the only disciple from Bill Belichick that's making good right now in the NFL. There's been so many Belichick tree coaches that hired and they just never quite work out. And now the roster side of things are falling apart for Mike Vrabel. So could they clean house in Tennessee with a bad season?
I don't think so. I mean, I think he's nearly Harbaugh safe. I think he's a big-time head coach. Maybe ownership disagrees with me and there's a conflict of personalities. I highly doubt it. But I would think these are going to be rough years. That's the captain we want to, captain the ship through these rough waters, not somebody else, right?
I think it's tough for Tennessee too, because then if they start over at quarterback again next year, then it's another rough year. And then you get 2 rough years back to back, and then it can kind of change things. But I agree. It doesn't feel like he would be on the hot seat this year, but maybe expectations are higher for them internally than they are for us. And a disappointing season would make them think about moving on and changing head coaches.
Maybe. I think he would be hired in 0.3 seconds, though. Ohio State or wherever would grab him in a heartbeat.
Oh, he would have an NFL job. He'd have a college job. He would have any job he wants, probably.
Yep.
No doubt. Let's go to the West, and probably a safe job for Sean Payton. First-year head coach. He's not a first-time head coach, though. But if things are bad again, do they clean house from top to bottom? New GM, new head coach? Probably not, because of what they paid to get Payton. I think they're kind of stuck with him for a little while, even if he's not the right guy.
That's what I was going to say. I don't know what all these coaches are making, but he might be the highest paid coach in the league. If not, he's not far off. And you gave him a first-round pick for him. Like, he has total carte blanche this year in terms of he could win 3 or 4 games and be safe. Then it starts to be a conversation. But I don't think he has any chance of getting let go this year.
I totally agree. But we know coaches are going to get fired, and we have only got maybe
I know you don't have many out there
so far in the AFC. So these last few are very interesting.
Kansas City's not interesting,
right? The last 2 are interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. This one is not. Andy Reid's in the same. He's probably even in a better place than Bill Belichick is.
Yes. Oh yeah. No doubt in my mind.
Like, probably
totally up to him.
No safer job in the NFL unless he decides he wants to walk away after this season for Andy Reid. So
yeah, I mean, maybe he has health issues, or I've done enough and I've got enough rings and whatever. I'm done with this stuff, but it's up to him. I think he's as safe as any coach in the league.
No icy or cold seat in the NFL than Andy Reid's in Kansas City.
Nope.
You cannot say the same for the Las Vegas Raiders and Josh McDaniels, though, Matt. And I know there was some talk that maybe he could even get fired this offseason. They don't have, the Raiders operate a little bit differently. I don't know what the economics are for Mark Davis now in Las Vegas. If he's got more cash on hand, it's just not that easy to, get rid of a coach and still pay him and then pay a brand new head coach in just the sheer cash dollars it takes to make some moves like that. And I think the Raiders are more strapped than some other teams. Maybe Tom Brady's got enough money to do that, but I would think Tom Brady likes Josh McDaniels as much as anybody, right? So a bad season, who knows? But even Josh McDaniels is probably only warm and not necessarily a hot seat guy unless it's just a disaster there.
Yeah, there sure seems to be an affinity between the Davises and the Belichick Patriot scheme and trying to make it, the Patriot way out west. But I think there's a chance it's a disastrous season and they have a top 5 pick and his seat should be pretty warm.
Slightly warm. Would you say McDaniel's seat is warmer than anybody? Robert Saleh, I think we said, could be somewhat warm.
Browns were warm.
Yeah, Stefanski. I would say McDaniel's is warmer than all of those. So the warmest.
I agree.
Yeah,
and he certainly is the worst team of those.
Yeah, right. So the most likely to have a bad season where that warm turns hot.
Yeah, and maybe expectations aren't quite as high as in New York and Cleveland, but he could have the first pick in the draft.
But here is the hottest seat. The final team.
I agree.
This is the hottest seat in the AFC, and that is because expectations are higher than probably in Las Vegas, and that is Los Angeles Chargers head coach Brandon Staley. He did such a nice job with the Rams defense, and he's a really smart guy. Things have not worked out great for him as a head coach. And this is kind of his last opportunity, I think, right? He's got a young superstar quarterback. There's no excuses for him to not have a playoff team that not only makes the playoffs, but, just blows the doors off the playoffs and goes and wins some playoff games in January. So I think he's got to not only be not bad, I think he's got to be really good to save his job.
I tend to agree. You've got a new offensive coordinator in there. If I'm ownership going, hey, we spent a lot these last couple of years with our quarterback on a rookie deal, going getting Khalil Mack and JC Jackson and all those type of dudes. What do we have to show for it? And you mentioned, he comes with a defensive background. And have you really improved the defense? Not so much, and it's about to get expensive and the window's closing. So we might have to do a different move here. Yeah, I think his seat's quite warm.
And how easy would that job be to fill, right? If you're like, hey, we've got a superstar quarterback, a young one at that, and, come live in good weather, Los Angeles.
Sure.
It'd be easy to find the best head coach candidate out there. And so if you're the owner of the Los Angeles Chargers, what needs to happen for Brandon Staley to keep his job? Like, what's record-wise, finish-wise?
Win a playoff game.
Okay, one playoff win.
I think that goes a long way. Is the minimum. Yeah. Get in the playoffs and win the game, Don't go blow it in Jacksonville like you did last year. That doesn't help.
Yeah, lose the first round or not get in. Like, no playoffs, you're done. Brandon Staley.
I tend to agree.
So it's how you perform in that playoff game, and hopefully you get a couple of playoff games.
And he probably gets too much heat for it, but all that going for it on fourth down and unorthodox way of thinking, makes it a little easier to can you. If you're going to operate outside the box, you better be pretty good at it.
Yeah, the only rule is it has to work. It has to work. As zany as you want if it works. If it's not working, a lot easier to poke holes into your reason for the team losing.
Exactly.
All right, so there's the AFC. Let us know what you guys think at BD Peacock, at Williamson NFL on Twitter, on Threads, on Instagram. You can find me, hit me up wherever you want, and of course, find us on YouTube in the comments there. Matt and I back tomorrow. NFC head coach hot seats right here, Peacock and Williamson.